So let's talk about standardizing tokens, right? So most of you know that tokens, basically, we have different ways of representing value. It's really important to know kind of, I can basically represent the value as a token. I can have some certification of equality. My PowerPoint crashed again. I don't know what happens. Can everybody see my screen? Can you see my deck right now?
Yes, it's visible. And on YouTube, we can also see your screen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why my computer is completely. But what I'm trying to say is there are different ways to represent tokens. So tokens can represent different things. They can represent value. They can be a certificate of assurance of quality. They can be a promise or an obligation for me to sell you something or to allow you to buy something at a certain price. Or it can be an actual asset, what the UN likes to call crypto assets, right? Anything that is represented with cryptography, that is basically traded, listed, issued, and exchanged on a blockchain is kind of a crypto assets. I don't know if I like this definition, but that's fine. We're talking about stuff that is residing on different, let's say, shared distributed ledgers, blockchain database, something else. It doesn't have to be on a blockchain or on a DLT. Usually tokens have an owner, and we're looking at who can transfer, who owns it, who is the last person who holds it, can I sell it, can I buy, did I execute my trade, et cetera, et cetera. Most of you probably know it from the ERC20 kind of world. And it's important to say that there are different rules for trading tokens, right? So in ERC20, I do stuff in Ethereum, but still, even if I have a security token offering, right, like an STO, I still need to comply with different regulations like KYC. Who am I selling to? Am I selling to US residents? Am I selling it in the US? Am I offering it, et cetera, et cetera. So in the ICO kind of space, tokens had like a bad name. I actually believe that tokens are much bigger than an ICO. So I'm also the co-chair now of the token taxonomy framework at the Interwork Alliance. And this is where we're talking about all the issues that we have right now with tokenizations, right? So there wasn't a standard language for defining that. It was very difficult to control tokens, right? I can do an ERC20, but there are so many things that I put in code in terms of logic. Like if it's that account or that date, or, I have like a sell price that ends at like 8 p.m., so I look at time or block number, et cetera, et cetera. It's very specific to Ethereum. If I go to do it on Algorand, let's say, it's different. If I want to do it on Fabric or another permission layer network, it's also very different. And it's actually very dangerous when you have higher values that is tokenized. I'm sorry, but, I don't know, I have a much more formatted deck, but this is basically, it's a mishmash of a few talks. But let's talk about like how we define tokens in the token taxonomy framework. So we're looking at different behaviors, and I'm going to do like a very, very quick, like 2-minute explanations of how we look at tokens in a way that doesn't lock you to a specific vendor or platform. We're looking at behaviors, and behaviors are very high level kind of definitions of what the token can do, how it behaves, right? So I can have a transferable token. It's a token that I can transfer. I can have a non-transferable one, right? I can have something that is divisible or an indivisible. And I can have something that is a singleton, meaning that it's a quantity of only one. I can have a class, right, that I can have only one reference of. I'm looking at different things as mintable, role support, but it becomes more interesting when we take the high level stuff and we map the problem to a specific domain, and then we try to see, okay, what am I actually trading here? Or what am I tokenizing here? What is the value of transfer or the method of exchange? What is it that I'm actually tokenizing? And it's really important to think, are you fungible? Are you not fungible? Let's start with that, right? Once you have that, is it expiring? So we have a behavior called expirable. If it is expirable, then I'll have some property sets. For example, expiration date. So expirable token should have an expiration date. If something that, and I can have a combination, right? So I'll be able to say, I have a mintable, tradable, non-expiring commitment to you that if you do this by that date, then something will happen. So we don't put all the logic in the token, we put all the behaviors in the model of the token. And then we have the logic, the different logic, right? Smart contracts on Solidity, let's say, or I can implement it in different languages. And that's what I'm going to show in my part of the deck, is about how to actually work with tokens in a way that is really interoperable, even though these are very early days, okay? So next slide is a bit more complicated, but basically I can have, just for the technical people in the audience, because there are many developers here, So I can basically create a behavior group that basically can do a few things. So I can look at a mintable with a mint request, and I can look at burns, and I can look at adding roles, and I can have some permissioning based on some time. So basically I just can create a composite of multiple behaviors, multiple property sets, and then I call them a behavior group, okay? Why is it nice? Okay, it's a bit complicated, but it's nice. Why is it nice? It's nice because we're not getting into the legal definitions that are super complicated because they're very precise. So we took a step back and we said, look, if you want to have something that's transferable, let's just talk, in plain English. And I know what I can transfer and to whom and under what conditions and what is it needed to transfer. And it allows multiple vendors and multiple parties, doesn't matter if you're like on the business side or development side, to really sit down and understand what the hell is going on with the asset that is being transferred in a network that we don't control. Okay, and because we found it very difficult to work with people that are really fixed on Ethereum and they think that everything has to be ERC20 or 71 or I don't know, 14, depends on how much privacy you want, right? Versus people that are in the enterprise saying, look, I want an enterprise kind of token, but then I can do like enterprise Ethereum as well, right? So, it just kind of very strange to build, a website for one browser that works only for one browser. And that's the intention here. I'm going to talk about the different, now we're talking about my slides. So yeah, I borrowed the other ones from the TTF. So portability and interoperability, right? So we all like to think in terms of layers and we say, yeah, we're going to have some abstraction layer or another interoperability layer. I'm just looking at the time. I'm going to move a bit quicker because I wasted a few minutes at the beginning. So we already have enough reliable and verifiable persistency layers that has some sort of high availability, okay? And we have a lot of blockchain as a services, right? So you can go to the big major clouds and they all have, IBM blockchain platform, Azure has a few flavors of blockchain as a service, Oracle has a ton of stuff now with applications, AWS is coming and going, but they're still here. So they want to have they have Fabric-based blockchain as a service, they have QuantumDB. So there are enough vendors that will give you blockchain as a service. And if you talk to Pavel and other people here in this session, there are many other vendors that offer some bespoke services that you don't have to go to the big clouds if you don't want to. But if you do, you can have it, right? So that part is done, okay? We built an identity and governance layer that you can basically build on top. And the idea was to be able to run some shared logic on top of these blockchains, okay? And that's what we've done for quite some time. So we've built shared logic that allows you to connect with Java APIs, and there's Bezu now, there's Pegasus, and there are a few projects that actually give you some Java interfaces. Fabric gives you Java interface, and Corda gives you some Java interface. So it's very easy to work with Java in enterprise settings at least. There's Solidity, of course, on most of the Ethereum kind of, mainnets, testnets, and forks. DAML is coming up, so there are different languages that basically allow you binding to have the shared logic, but that's not enough, okay? So we also wanted to have some privacy preserving layer, and we spent a lot of time in our company, in HACERA, to build like a zero knowledge proof level kind of abstraction that allows you to, on one hand, have stickiness so that I know who called the contract and what the parameters that are basically being passed, but I cannot de-anonymize it and understand who that person was. So the idea is, if somebody is paying gas for running a contract, I know that this is the person who pays, but I can't reverse engineer and find out who that person is. It's actually very difficult when everything is logged, okay? So it's a lot more difficult. So we came up with an unbounded scale layer, but I'm not gonna talk too much about what we do right now. I wanna talk about tokenization, okay? So even though we built all of that, and that took us like 3.5 years, and before I forget, we're hiring a lot. So if people want to kind of join us, please reach out. I always forget because I run out of time. But what we found out that in addition to all of that, it's very difficult to be a multi-platform vendor without being able to tokenize stuff, but across the board, from AWS to IBM blockchain to Ethereum to some, Aeon network that somebody runs with their own VM. We need a way to look at the value, quality, rights and obligations, or as we talked about, like the whole thing about the payments. So this is where we came up with this token taxonomy, and I'm going to show you a quick demo. Let me stop share and share of what we have right now. Give me a second. I'm just going to share another screen. So I'm going to show you an example. And I'm going to share this again. So, cancel, share. Can everybody see my screen? I hope so. Yeah. Alexei, very good.
Yes, yes, we can see.
So a few years ago, we actually built a network of network kind of connectivity layer that we don't charge for. So it's just a service. We did it with IBM, we did it with AWS, we did it with Microsoft, Azure, and we basically started connecting a lot of these blockchains. So the idea is that if I'm gonna, it's very easy to create an account and basically run stuff around, but it's very easy for somebody to go and find, you know, let me just log in quickly. Now everybody knows my personal email, but that's fine. So once I'm logged in, I can actually look at different projects. And for every project, I can come in, look at the blocks, understand what's going on. So I can connect something on Binance with something on Corda, with some commitments on Fabric, et cetera, et cetera. But what I want to show today is not just this connectivity layer that I showed in the deck. It's actually the ability for me to go and look at a token generation kind of platform that is very standard compliant. So imagine that I would like to create a token, okay? And this is the template. So I'm gonna go and choose if it's whole fungible, okay? Or if it's fractional fungible, it's a singleton or whole non-fungible. And each of them, basically, I can basically, I'm talking now in terms of the token taxonomy kind of terminology, right? Which is part of the Interwork Alliance. Let me just find that. Interwork Alliance. I think it's Interwork. I don't even know the. It's this, yeah, interwork.org. So we are all part of this Interwork Alliance. I'm chairing the token taxonomy framework working group, and we're working. You know, Nasdaq is here, and UBS is. We have big companies around, but the idea is that I'll be able to just generate something like a property title, an artist collection. Let's look at like a timeshare, unique whole fungible. You know, I have like different loyalty points, and I can just take any of these things and I can create a whole non-fungible token, let's say, okay? And once I have it and it's indivisible, I can just add some other kind of behaviors to that token. So it can be like, let's say, burnable. So I click burnable and I can click, I don't know, issuable, or let's find something more useful, transferable, okay? So let's say I have that. I can come in and I have a minute, I understand. And let's say I could have an SKU, or if I have a file, or these are different property sets that I could have had. Okay, let's just add like an SKU, not that I need it, but let's assume that I do. And once I basically have that, we generate a formula that is generic enough that tells you if it's fungible, non-fungible. And I can basically look at all the things that I showed in my deck. And basically I can save it. Let me just call it like file token. And I can later on take this template and deploy it. I can actually, I can upload this implementation to Ethereum, Fabric, Corda, or other chains. As you know, we support all the time a lot of things. But what is important here, I'm not locking you down to a specific Solidity implementation. It's very, very high level, all done with a wizard, backward compatible, gives you all the APIs that you need. And then you stay with only the standard instead of a bespoke thing. I don't know if we have time for questions, but if you do, I would love to answer. So that's basically the idea. I can probably quickly upload it or not. But that's the idea, right? The idea is to basically to come in to a Fabric network, look at the project, and later on run stuff. And I can do the same thing. I can't do it easily on Bitcoin, to be honest, but we're running like a lot of full nodes on all these networks, right? So it can be like a private Corda network. It can be a public Fabric network that has some private, you know, endorsers that are voting, but they still have some stuff that is public. And I can start moving data around between Fabric, Ethereum, Corda, and even get payments using Bitcoin. And how do I do it? Not with a hack, but with a standardized, you know, standard-based framework that has enough parties that contribute to it so that I can later on have different implementations, different wallets, different wizards, and we are all going to talk the same language. So burnable in my world will be transferable in your world. And then we can have the same thing, or, you know, so sorry, what I mean is when I say burnable, we talk about the same thing, transferable is the same thing. So it's very clear to understand what is the token, what are the behaviors of the token, and how to implement it differently. Even though you're in Chrome, the other guy's in Safari, and the third guy is using his mobile, we have some kind of, you know, HTML5 kind of standard that allows us to interoperate. So that's what I wanted to contribute today. Again, I'm happy to answer questions. We are hiring all the time. Please reach out. Would love to, collaborate with other projects. Would love to hire more people, front end, back end. We do a lot of stuff. Yeah, thank you very much.